I accidentally connected to my wife's car Bluetooth and heard her planning with my best friend. Once he signs the house over for the tax benefits, we'll have everything we need to start our new life without that pathetic fool. They laughed. I continued being the perfect husband for another 97 days. This morning my phone exploded with 42 missed calls. I've been lurking on this sub for years. Never thought I'd be posting my own story. Funny how life works out sometimes. It was a completely random Tuesday. Nothing special. April 16th. I remember because it was the day before our monthly bill payments, and I was doing the usual budget check. Mary, 37, and I, 39, had been married for 11 years. Solid marriage, or so I thought. We had our routines. She went to her book club every Tuesday while I usually worked late, catching up on whatever fell through the cracks during the week. About 3 months ago I left work early because of server issues at the office. They sent everyone home around 2:30. I decided to swing by Costco. We were almost out of everything. Toilet paper, coffee, those little dark chocolate sea salt caramels Mary loves. Normal married people stuff, right? I was sitting in the Costco parking lot, scrolling through Spotify, trying to find that podcast Carl recommended about investment strategies. Without thinking, I hit connect on my phone's Bluetooth. Normally it would connect to my car. But today it connected to Mary's Highlander instead. Weird. Mary's car shouldn't be anywhere near here. Her book club meets at Rita's house across town. Before I could disconnect, I heard laughter coming through my phone. Mary's laugh. That specific one she does when she's genuinely entertained, not her polite social laugh. Then a man's voice. Dylan's voice. My best friend since college. I froze. The podcast forgotten. My finger hovering over the disconnect button. Their voices were crystal clear. Mary must have left her phone connected to the car's Bluetooth while they were sitting inside. He seriously has no idea, Mary was saying, her voice carrying that slight buzz she gets after 2 glasses of wine. Brian thinks I'm at book club right now. Dylan laughed. And he thinks I'm at that finance conference in Cleveland. Man, he's always been so trusting. Remember when we almost got caught at your sister's wedding? I sat there completely still, as if moving would somehow alert them that I was listening. My stomach dropped through the floor of my car. That was too close, Mary replied. But it's not going to matter soon. Once he signs the house over for the tax benefits, we'll have everything we need to start our new life without that pathetic fool. They both laughed. Laughed at me. At my stupidity. What about the timeline? Dylan asked. How much longer do we need to keep this charade going? 3 months max. My financial advisor said the capital gains exemption works best if we wait until after our tax filing. Brian already thinks it makes sense to put the house in my name because of my self-employment situation. God, he's so clueless about money. 3 months. 97 days to be exact. Until our next tax appointment that Mary had helpfully scheduled with her highly recommended advisor. I sat there in the Costco parking lot for I don't know how long, listening to them talk about their future together. How they'd been seeing each other for 2 years behind my back. How Dylan had been playing the good friend while sleeping with my wife. How Mary had been siphoning money from our joint account into a separate one for months. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped my phone. The connection broke. I sat there staring at nothing, my brain trying to process what I'd just heard. 11 years of marriage. A lifetime of friendship. All eyes. I don't know how I drove home. I remember sitting in our driveway for like 45 minutes trying to get myself together before going inside. I must have looked through at least 200 photos on my phone. Pictures of the 3 of us together at barbecues, on our fishing trip last summer, at Dylan's birthday party where he made a toast about friendship. The rage came in waves. First hot, then ice cold. I wanted to trash the house, pack my bags, call everyone we knew. I wanted to wait until she got home and confront her with everything. I imagined the look on her face when she realized she'd been caught. But then something clicked. They called me a pathetic fool. They laughed about how easily they'd fooled me. They had a plan to take everything from me. My house, my dignity, probably a chunk of my retirement too if Mary had her way. I decided right then, they weren't going to get the satisfaction. I went inside, put away the Costco stuff I'd never actually bought, and opened my laptop. I started making a list. Do not confront Mary or Dylan yet. Document everything. Dates, times, conversations. Check joint finances and credit reports. Find a lawyer, not anyone Mary or Dylan might know. Secure personal items and documents. Act completely normal. Hardest part. I created a new email account on Proton Mail that night. Downloaded Signal on an old phone I had in a drawer. Started recording every conversation with Mary. Took screenshots of our bank accounts and credit card statements. When Mary came home that night around 9, slightly wine-flushed and smelling of unfamiliar cologne, I was on the couch watching Ozark. I smiled and asked her how book club was. "Oh good, we're reading that bestseller everyone's talking about," she said, not even bothering to name a specific book. "That's nice. I ordered pizza since I got home late. There's some left in the fridge." She looked almost disappointed at how normal I was acting. Maybe she was expecting a fight about her being out late again. Instead, I gave her a quick kiss on the cheek and went back to my show. The next day, I called in sick to work. As soon as Mary left, I tore through the house. Found her hidden phone in her workout bag. Discovered statements for a separate checking account with nearly $40,000 in it. Money that had been slowly disappearing from our joint savings. Located a folder of printed emails between her and Dylan hidden in a tampon box. Seriously, the oldest trick in the book. I took pictures of everything, then put it all back exactly as I found it. That afternoon I met with Arlene, an attorney someone on Reddit actually recommended when I asked hypothetically about a friend's divorce situation. She laid it out clearly. I needed evidence, patience, and a solid plan. "Don't show your hand," she told me. "The moment they know you know, they'll accelerate their plans. You need to be 10 steps ahead." The next 97 days were the hardest of my life. Every morning I woke up next to the woman who was planning to destroy me. Every weekend Dylan would text about hanging out, playing video games, watching the game. Sometimes I said yes. Sitting there drinking beers with him, watching him check his phone and smile when Mary texted him from the other room. I became the perfect husband. I fixed things around the house without being asked. I bought Mary flowers randomly. I suggested we update our wills and financial plans, which gave me access to even more information. I even brought up the house transfer myself, mentioning some article I'd read about tax benefits for self-employed individuals. "That sounds like a great idea," Mary said, trying to hide her excitement. "My financial advisor mentioned something similar. Why don't we look into it?" The pieces were falling into place. Their pieces, or so they thought. Meanwhile, I was building my own plan with Arlene. Setting up my escape. Moving small amounts of money into a separate account they didn't know about. Documenting every lie, every late night at work, every business dinner that was actually a date between my wife and my best friend. I discovered they had a whole Google Photos album of their time together. Vacations they'd taken while I was working. Screenshots of their text conversations laughing about how oblivious I was. Hotel receipts. Restaurant bills. Even a shared Spotify playlist called Us, full of songs about secret love and new beginnings. Every night I swallowed my rage and played my part. I listened to Mary talk about her day, knowing half of it was lies. I texted Dylan about fantasy football and acted excited about our upcoming fishing trip. I downloaded their entire text history using Mary's old iPad that she thought she'd wiped. Pro tip, check your iCloud settings, people. I recorded them on the phone when they thought I wasn't around. I had Carl from work help me recover deleted files from our home computer. The hardest part was acting normal with other people. When Andrew, my brother, noticed something was off and asked if everything was okay, I nearly broke down and told him everything. Instead, I said I was stressed about work and changed the subject to his new deck project. The days ticked by slowly. Some nights I'd lie awake, Mary sleeping soundly beside me, and wonder if I should just confront them and be done with it. Throw away my careful planning for the satisfaction of seeing their faces when they realized they'd been caught. But then I'd remember them laughing about me, calling me a pathetic fool, and my resolve would harden again. Day 75. Mary mentioned the tax appointment coming up, said it would be smart to bring the house paperwork with us. Day 89. Dylan invited me to his cabin for a guy's weekend that happened to fall on the weekend after the tax appointment. A celebration, no doubt. Day 93. I finalized everything with Arlene. All my pieces were in place. Day 96. We had dinner with Mary's sister Rita and her husband. Mary was on her phone all night, presumably texting Dylan. Rita asked if everything was okay between us. Mary jumped in before I could answer, saying we'd never been happier. And then day 97 arrived. The day of the tax appointment. The day they thought their plan would come together. The day I'd been counting down to for 3 excruciating months. Little did they know I had my own appointment scheduled for that morning. And it wasn't with their tax advisor. I'll post the final update at the end, but first, here's exactly what went down during those 97 days and on the morning everything finally exploded. The morning after I overheard them, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. For about 30 seconds I thought maybe it had all been a nightmare. Then Mary rolled over, kissed my cheek, and asked if I could pick up her dry cleaning after work. The same dry cleaning that probably had outfits she'd worn on dates with my best friend. I smiled and said sure. Then I went to the bathroom and threw up. That became my new normal. Acting perfectly fine on the outside while dying inside. Day 7 I started Operation Don't Be a Pathetic Fool, named after their lovely description. First step was gathering evidence. I set up a hidden folder on my Google Drive with a documentation system that would make conspiracy theorists proud. Timestamps, locations, meetings that didn't exist. I logged when Mary said she was somewhere versus where her location actually showed on our shared family plan. She disabled location tracking on Instagram but forgot we were on the same T-Mobile account where I could see her GPS data. Big mistake. Huge. Day 12 I had my second meeting with Arlene. She laid out 3 different scenarios, ranging from scorched earth to clean break. I chose option 4, calculated justice. Turns out Mary's secret account wasn't actually that secret from a legal standpoint. The money trail was eye-opening. Our tight budget for the past year was because Mary had been slowly siphoning funds. Not enough to notice immediately. 200 here, 300 there. But it added up to almost $40,000 over 18 months. Money that was supposed to be for our future. Day 15 Dylan texted asking if I wanted to catch the game at his place. I almost threw my phone against the wall. Instead I texted back, sure, sounds great, with a beer emoji. Then I went to his apartment and sat on the same couch where I'd seen pictures of him and Mary cuddling just days before, thanks to their not-so-secret Google Photos album. He ordered pizza, handed me a beer, and started talking about some girl he was casually seeing. The audacity. Creating a fake girlfriend to throw me off. When he went to the bathroom, I planted a small USB voice recorder under his coffee table. Not my proudest moment, but desperate times. Day 23 I started leaving my phone in obvious places while appearing distracted. Classic bait. Sure enough, I caught Mary scrolling through it twice. Joke's on her, I'd created a decoy. My real communications with Arlene were on a separate phone I kept in my gym bag. Mary found exactly what I wanted her to find. Searches for tax benefits transferring house spouse and capital gains exemption primary residence. She thought she was so slick putting my phone back exactly as she found it. Day 30 I hit a low point. Spent my lunch break sitting in my car in the Target parking lot just staring at nothing. Almost called the whole thing off. The constant lying and pretending was eating me alive. I texted Andrew asking if he wanted to grab a beer afterward. Didn't tell him anything specific, just that Mary and I were going through some stuff. He could tell something was seriously wrong but didn't push. Just listened and kept the beers coming. Having that one night to just breathe with someone who wasn't trying to screw me over made a huge difference. Day 42 Mary suggested we have Dylan over for dinner. I suggested we invite Madison too, Mary's friend who I always suspected knew about the affair. The look on Mary's face was priceless. She recovered quickly, saying Madison was busy. I insisted, saying I'd already texted her and she was free. Mary had no choice but to agree. Dinner was a masterclass in awkwardness. Dylan kept finding excuses to help Mary in the kitchen. Madison kept giving me these weird sympathetic looks. I pretended not to notice any of it while keeping everyone's wine glasses full. 3 bottles later, Madison was drunk enough that when Mary and Dylan stepped outside for a smoke break, neither of them smoke, she leaned over and asked if I was really okay with everything. I played dumb. Madison looked confused, then realized I had no idea what she was talking about. She backpedaled hard, spilling her wine in the process. That confirmed everything. Madison knew. Day 50 I created a fake email trail about bonus money coming my way, left it open, accidentally, on our shared iPad. Within hours Mary was asking casual questions about my work and if anything exciting was happening. I mentioned a possible bonus in the next few months. She suggested we should use it to renovate the bathroom. The bathroom she was planning to enjoy with Dylan after I was out of the picture. I smiled and said that sounded perfect. Day 63 Mary left her Apple Watch charging in the bathroom. The notification preview showed a text from Dylan, "Miss you already. 34 more days." They were literally counting down. I took a photo of it, added it to my evidence folder, and went downstairs to make Mary her favorite breakfast, pancakes with blueberries arranged in a smiley face. She ate them while texting him back. That night I pretended to have a nightmare, sat up gasping in bed. Mary asked what was wrong. I said I dreamed she was leaving me. She held me and promised she'd never do that we were forever. I let her comfort me while I stared at the ceiling, counting the days in my head. Day 71 I ran into Rita, Mary's sister, at the grocery store. She was cold, barely making eye contact. Mary had obviously been telling her family that our marriage was on the rocks, painting me as the villain to prepare them for when she left. Rita made some comment about how Mary deserves to be happy. I just nodded and asked how her kids were. Kill them with kindness, right? Day 85 Mary suggested we update our life insurance policies. Actually brought the paperwork home herself. I noticed she'd already filled out her beneficiary section, removing me entirely and putting her sister Rita instead. I pretended not to notice and said I'd look everything over. Then, accidentally, spilled coffee on the forms so we'd need new ones. Day 88 I found their shared Amazon wish list. It was titled New Place and had everything from furniture to kitchen appliances. They were literally planning to furnish their new life together while dismantling mine. The kicker, some of the items were things I'd picked out years ago that Mary had vetoed for our house. Apparently my taste was good enough for her future with Dylan. Day 90 I started moving my essential documents and irreplaceable items to a storage unit. Nothing obvious. Just my grandfather's watch, the baseball cards my dad left me, important paperwork. I told Mary the first was decluttering based on that Netflix show everyone was watching. She actually helped me pack some boxes, not realizing she was helping me prepare to leave. Day 91 Dylan invited me to his cabin for a guy's weekend scheduled for right after our tax appointment. I agreed enthusiastically, suggesting we make it a full 3-day trip. Asked if I should bring the fishing gear we bought together last summer. The gear I'd already sold on Facebook Marketplace to a dad teaching his kid to fish. Day 94 Andrew helped me remove the last of my important stuff. He still didn't know the full story, just that I might be staying with him for a while soon. He didn't ask questions. Just made room in his spare bedroom and added me to his Netflix account. Brothers. The real MVPs. Day 95 Carl recovered the deleted files from our home computer. Hundreds of messages between Mary and Dylan going back almost 3 years. Plans for trips. Complaints about me. Explicit photos. But the smoking gun was a document titled Financial Plan Post B, with a detailed timeline for their new life together. My name wasn't mentioned once. Just referred to as current obstacle. 3 years of my life reduced to an obstacle. Day 96 Mary was extra affectionate. Suggested we go out for a nice dinner just because. Wore the necklace I gave her for our anniversary. Initiated sex for the first time in months. I went through the motions, feeling nothing but a strange detachment. Afterward she cuddled up and started talking about the tax appointment, how it would secure our future. The future she wasn't planning to spend with me. I smiled in the dark and told her I was looking forward to it too. Day 97. I woke up at 4 in the morning. Couldn't sleep. Sat on our back porch watching the sunrise, thinking about the day ahead. The last day of being a pathetic fool. I made coffee. Left a cup on Mary's nightstand like I always do. She woke up, smiled sleepily, and reminded me about our appointment at 2. I kissed her forehead and told her not to worry. I hadn't forgotten. I had my own appointment at 9 that she didn't know about. By 10:30 everything was in motion. The wheels I'd spent 97 days carefully positioning were finally turning. I sent 1 group text. Made 3 phone calls. Signed 5 documents. Then I turned off my phone, got in my car, and drove to the place where I would finally stop being the perfect husband. The next time I turned my phone back on, I had 42 missed calls, 16 voicemails, 93 text messages, and 0 regrets. Here's exactly how it all went down on day 97. I woke up at 4:27 according to my Fitbit. My stomach was doing Olympic-level gymnastics, not from nervousness but from a weird mix of relief and anticipation. 3 months of acting was about to end. Mary was still asleep, curled up on her side of the bed like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't spent years lying to my face. I got up quietly, made coffee, and sat on our back deck watching the neighborhood come alive. Normal life going on while mine was about to implode, by choice. At 7:30 Mary's alarm went off. She shuffled into the kitchen looking for coffee, kissed my cheek, and reminded me about our important tax appointment at 2. I smiled and asked if she wanted me to make breakfast. She seemed surprised by the offer but said yes. While making her favorite avocado toast, the fancy kind with everything bagel seasoning, I casually mentioned I might be a few minutes late to the appointment because of a quick meeting. Her face did that micro-expression of panic before she controlled it. Asked if we should reschedule. I assured her I'd be there, just might need to meet her at the office instead of driving together. The relief on her face was immediate. Their plan was still on track as far as she knew. She left for her morning appointments at 9:15. I watched her pull out of the driveway texting as she drove, probably telling Dylan everything was proceeding as planned. As soon as her car turned the corner, I sprang into action. First stop, the bank. Not our usual branch, but one across town where I'd set up a new account 3 weeks earlier. Deposited the cashier's check I'd gotten from selling my old Mustang, the one Mary always complained about but Dylan always admired. Second stop, Arlene's office. My attorney had everything ready. 6 documents needed my signature. The last 3 months of careful planning condensed into legally binding paperwork. As I signed each page I felt lighter. Arlene gave me a flash drive with all the evidence we'd compiled. The texts, the bank records, the photos, the recordings. All backed up in triplicate with copies already sent to my email and stored in the cloud. When I was done, Arlene looked at me and asked if I was sure. This was the point of no return. I just nodded and said I'd never been more sure of anything. By 11:30 I was at Andrew's place. My brother had cleared his spare room as promised. I dropped off my last bag of essentials, plugged in my laptop, and opened the file titled Day 97. The checklist I'd created weeks ago was right there waiting. 8 steps. 8 simple steps to reclaim my life. Step 1. Send the email. I drafted it carefully, reviewed it with Arlene, revised it 4 times. It was addressed to 14 people: Mary's parents, my parents, our closest friends, Mary's sister Rita, and a few mutual friends who deserved to know the truth. Not vindictive or angry. Just factual. It explained I was ending my marriage due to Mary's long-term affair with Dylan. Included just enough evidence to be irrefutable without being graphic. Asked for privacy during this difficult time. Step 2. Update social media. Changed my relationship status on Facebook to single. No comment. Unfriended both Mary and Dylan. Updated my contact information on all platforms. Simple, clean break. Step 3. The group text. This went to our friend group, the people we saw regularly, who had dinner at our house, who came to our Super Bowl parties. The people who deserved to hear it from me directly before the gossip started. Short and to the point, marriage over. Found out Mary and Dylan have been together for years. Please respect my privacy. Not your fault. Still value your friendship. The responses were immediate. Disbelief. Support. Questions. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and moved to Step 4. Step 4. Call Mary's parents. This was the hardest one. I genuinely liked my in-laws. They had always treated me like a son. The call was brief, painful. Her dad went silent. Her mom cried. I apologized for delivering the news this way. Thanked them for welcoming me into their family. They deserved better than an email or text. Step 5. Transfer the money. I moved the agreed-upon amount from our joint account to Mary's personal account. Exactly half of our joint savings. Not a penny more or less. Left the transaction description as your share. Goodbye. Then transferred my half to my new secure account. Step 6. Send the text to Mary. This was timed precisely at 1:45 p.m., 15 minutes before our tax appointment. I sent her the message I'd drafted and redrafted dozens of times. I know about you and Dylan. Have known for 97 days. Don't go to the tax office. There's no appointment. The papers you'll be served are divorce papers, not house transfer documents. Everything has already been filed. Your things are at the house. I won't be. Goodbye, Mary. Step 7. Send the text to Dylan. This one was shorter. Hope she was worth it. Check your email. Everyone knows. Step 8. Turn off phone. And I did. For 6 blessed hours I existed in a bubble where none of it could touch me. Andrew and I ordered pizza, played Call of Duty, and didn't talk about Mary or Dylan or betrayal. Just two brothers hanging out like when we were teenagers. At 8:17 p.m. I finally turned my phone back on. 42 missed calls. 16 voicemails. 93 text messages. The breakdown. 23 calls from Mary. 11 from Dylan. 4 from Rita. 3 from Mary's mom. 1 from my mom checking if I was okay. The voicemails ranged from Mary sobbing incoherently, to Mary screaming that I'd ruined everything, to Mary begging me to talk to her. Dylan's were pathetic attempts at damage control. We need to talk man to man. It's not what you think. We can work this out. The texts were a dumpster fire of emotions. Mary cycling through denial, anger, bargaining. Dylan growing increasingly desperate as he realized his reputation was torched. Our friends expressing shock, support, offering places to stay. The most satisfying text came from Madison, Mary's friend. I should have told you. I'm so sorry. What they did was wrong. I responded to exactly 3 messages, thanked my mom for checking on me, assured Carl I was fine, and told Andrew I'd be staying another night. The next morning I woke up to 17 more missed calls and a novel's worth of texts from Mary. The tone had shifted from anger to pure panic. Apparently she discovered that I had documentation of everything. The tax appointment was actually with Arlene, who had served Mary with divorce papers when she arrived. All our friends and family knew exactly what she and Dylan had done. The house wasn't being transferred to her name. Instead, I'd already arranged for it to be sold, with the proceeds to be split as part of the divorce settlement. Her secret $40,000 account wasn't so secret to the divorce proceedings. I decided it was time for the confrontation. Not because I needed closure, but because I wanted to see her face when she realized she'd lost control of the narrative. I suggested meeting at a Starbucks near Andrew's place. Public enough to prevent a scene, private enough for a real conversation. She agreed immediately. When I walked in, she was already there, looking like absolute hell. Eyes puffy, hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. For a split second I felt a pang of something. Not quite sympathy. Maybe just muscle memory from 11 years of caring about this person. I sat down. Said nothing. Let the silence do the work. She started talking immediately. A jumbled mess of excuses, apologies, and accusations. It wasn't what it looked like. She and Dylan had made a mistake. I had violated her privacy by checking her messages. She still loved me. We could fix this. I waited until she ran out of steam, then asked one question. When did it start? She hesitated, then admitted it had been going on for almost 3 years. Started as just physical but became more. Dylan understood her in ways I didn't. They hadn't meant to hurt me. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from her car Bluetooth. The one where they called me a pathetic fool and laughed about stealing my house. Her face went completely white. That's when I told her everything. How I'd known for exactly 97 days. How I documented every lie, every secret meeting, every dollar she hid. How the tax benefits plan they thought was so clever had been dismantled piece by piece while they weren't looking. She tried the tears again. Said Dylan had pushed the plan, that she'd had doubts. Asked if there was any chance we could try again. I just looked at her, this stranger wearing my wife's face, and felt nothing but a dull ache where love used to be. I told her the divorce papers had already been filed. The terms were fair, and fighting it would only cost her more money and public embarrassment. The evidence was solid. As I got up to leave, she grabbed my arm and asked where I'd been staying. I didn't answer. She didn't deserve to know. The confrontation with Dylan happened by accident 2 days later. I was at Target buying basic necessities for my new life. Amazing how many things you take in your home for granted until you have to buy them all again. When I turned the corner, there he was, looking at phone chargers. His face when he saw me was almost comical. Deer in headlights doesn't begin to cover it. He started with the standard deflection. We need to talk. It's complicated. Mary and I never meant for this to happen. I just looked at him and asked if it was worth it. 11 years of friendship. Countless camping trips, game nights, birthdays. All thrown away for what? A relationship built on lies. He didn't have an answer. Just stood there holding a phone charger like it was a lifeline. I told him I didn't hate him. Hating him would require energy I wasn't willing to spend on him. Then I walked away and left him standing there surrounded by electronics he didn't need. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork, moving and adjusting. The house sold quickly in this market. I found a small apartment closer to work. Mary signed the divorce papers without contesting anything. Probably realized fighting would only expose more of her deception. The fallout in our social circle was about what you'd expect. Some mutual friends tried to stay neutral, but most sided with me once they knew the details. Dylan lost his fantasy football league spot. Petty but satisfying. Madison reached out to apologize again for keeping their secret. Rita surprisingly called to say she was ashamed of her sister. 3 months after day 97, the divorce was finalized. No muss, no fuss. We split the assets fairly. I kept my retirement accounts intact. She kept her secret stash. I didn't want a penny from her that I hadn't earned. I heard through the grapevine that Mary and Dylan are still together, living in a rented condo across town. Apparently the dream house they plan to buy with my money is on hold indefinitely. Their new place Amazon wish list remains unfulfilled. As for me, I'm doing okay. Some days are better than others. I still wake up sometimes reaching for someone who isn't there. I've had exactly 2 dates. Both spectacularly awkward. I'm not ready, and that's fine. Last week I found Mary's favorite coffee mug in a box I hadn't unpacked yet. The one with the chip on the handle that she refused to throw away because it was perfectly good otherwise. For a minute I just stood there holding it, remembering morning coffees and weekend breakfasts and a life I thought was real. Then I wrapped it carefully in newspaper, put it in a small box with her other forgotten items, and mailed it to her new address. No note. No message. Just returning what wasn't mine anymore. And that's it. That's the story of how I spent 97 days pretending to be the perfect husband while dismantling a betrayal 3 years in the making. Not for revenge, though that was part of it, but for self-respect. For refusing to be the pathetic fool they thought I was. If you're reading this and going through something similar, it gets better. Not immediately. Not completely. But enough. Stay strong, brothers. Exact narration script, 30 minutes when spoken at natural voiceover pace with slight pauses for drama. Ready to record. Hidden lies.